Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive. Today we're heading to ancient Egypt to explore those incredible pyramids.
Perfect timing, too, with all the new discoveries coming out.
Exactly. It's like the more we learn, the more questions we have, right?
Exactly.
So let's start with the basics. When most people think of pyramids, they picture, well, giant tombs.
Right. It's the classic image.
But is that all they were? Just elaborate burial sites?
Well, it's true. They were burial places for pharaohs. But to the ancient Egyptians, it was much more symbolic.
Like what?
Think of it as a physical manifestation of their whole belief system. It showed the pharaoh's power, sure, but also their journey to the afterlife.
So it wasn't just burying a ruler, it was about sending them off in style.
Exactly. Take the Great Pyramid of Giza, for instance. Pharaoh Khufu's final resting place. That incredible size, the precise alignment. It wasn't just for looks. It was all meant to help Khufu ascend to the heavens.
Okay, so we've got a pharaoh aiming for the stars. But how'd they manage that incredible alignment with Orion's belt? I mean, without modern tech, that's always baffled me.
The ancient Egyptians were amazing astronomers. They believed that by aligning the pyramids with certain stars, they could create a sort of pathway for the pharaoh's soul.
A pathway to what exactly?
To reach the afterlife. They saw Orion, specifically its belt, as representing Osiris, the god of the afterlife.
So aligning Khufu's pyramid with Orion's belt basically connected him to Osiris, to smooth his way into the afterlife.
That's the idea. It's linking the pharaoh with this powerful god.
Wow, talk about dedication. But how did they do it? Did they have some ancient Egyptian protractor we haven't found?
Their main tool was something called a merkit, basically a sighting tool and a plumb bob on a wooden frame.
Simple but effective.
Right. Using the merkit, they could sight specific stars and get a line of sight. Combined with their knowledge of star movements, they could track them over time.
So they figured out true north, aligned everything perfectly, all with basically a glorified ruler.
Pretty much. They turned the night sky into their blueprint.
Incredible. Okay, but let's get down to earth. Literally, moving those massive limestone blocks, that had to be a logistical nightmare.
Oh, absolutely. It was a massive undertaking. Those limestone blocks, some weighing up to 15 tons, quarried miles away. And then they had to transport them.
How could they do that?
Combination of human ingenuity and, well, nature. They used the Nile's annual floods to their advantage.
Wait, the floods?
Yeah, the rising water levels helped them float those massive blocks on, get this, wooden rafts.
Wooden rafts. Those things weighed tons. That sounds risky.
It was, but they were incredibly skilled with the river. The annual flooding was a huge part of their lives, practically and religiously. They saw it as a gift from the gods.
So they incorporated this vital element into their building projects, too. Makes sense.
Exactly. They weren't just building pyramids, they were weaving them into the fabric of their lives.
That's fascinating. But all this talk of massive stones, skilled labor, what about the workers themselves? Was it all forced labor like we see in the movies?
That's a common misconception. Archaeology actually suggests a skilled workforce. Skilled laborers, farmers working seasonally.
So more of a national project.
Yeah.
Something they took pride in.
Exactly. They were well-fed, organized, and they probably took immense pride in their work.
It wasn't slaves toiling away. It was skilled people building something for their society. Something that would last.
That's the idea, something that transcended their earthly lives, something that would link their pharaohs to the cosmos.
That changes things. But how do they lift those giant stones? I can't picture them stacking 15-ton blocks by hand.
That's the million-dollar question, and honestly, we're still not totally sure. There are theories, of course.
Like what?
Massive earthen ramps, internal ramps within the pyramid, even systems of levers and counterweights.
So the how-to is still a mystery.
Pretty much. But it's fascinating to think they achieved all this without the tools we have today.
Speaking of, I'm guessing each pyramid wasn't identical. Did each pharaoh want their own signature pyramid?
You're absolutely right. Not all pharaohs had the same resources or ambition. Khufu went big with the Great Pyramid, but others, they might have had a different approach.
Reflecting their beliefs, the era they lived in.
Exactly. Each pyramid is like a fingerprint, slightly different, telling its own story. And it wasn't just the pharaohs either.
Oh. You're saying everyday Egyptians felt that connection to the pyramids too. But how?
Well, imagine living in a society where the pharaoh wasn't just a ruler, but this divine figure.
Like a go-between with the gods.
Exactly, a living god almost. And these pyramids, these huge structures, dominating everything, they were a constant reminder of that divine connection.
Wow, yeah, I can see that. A physical manifestation of their whole belief system.
Exactly. And don't forget, the pyramids weren't just isolated.
Not just plunked down to the desert.
No, not at all. They were part of these huge complexes. Temples, causeways, all sorts of structures.
So more like a sacred city with the pyramid as the centerpiece?
You could say that. And these complexes, they were bustling, not just during construction, but for centuries
Hmm.
after.
Really? So the pyramids weren't just tombs, but centers of life, religious and economic, I guess.
Exactly. You'd have thousands of people involved in their upkeep, rituals, offerings, keeping everything running.
That paints a much more lively picture. Okay, but let's go inside the pyramids. We've talked about the pharaoh's burial chamber, but what else was in there? Just an empty tomb? Or did they, like, pack it up for the afterlife?
Oh, far from empty. Remember, Egyptians believed death wasn't the end, but a transition.
And they wanted to make sure the pharaoh had everything he needed.
Absolutely. The pyramids were filled with treasures, provisions, all intended to go with the pharaoh into the next world. Furniture, weapons, clothing, you name it.
Jewelry, probably. Food.
Food, yep, even games.
Wow. So it's like packing for a trip, just with maybe more gold than your average vacation.
Huh, you could say that. The whole idea was to provide for the pharaoh's eternal existence.
I can only imagine what those archaeologists felt, opening those tombs for the first time. But all those treasures, didn't that make them targets for robbers?
You're absolutely right. Grave robbing was a constant threat, even back then. That's why they went to such lengths to protect the tombs. False doors, hidden passages.
Booby traps.
Well, not quite traps, but curses.
Curses, huh? Like step on this tile and a mummy will grab you.
Not exactly. More like invoking the wrath of the gods on anyone who dared disturb the pharaoh.
So more of a spiritual security system than anything physical. But did it work?
Well, some tombs were still plundered, yeah. But we've also been lucky enough to find some that stayed intact, like Tutankhamun's tomb.
Ah, King Tut. The boy king. Everyone knows that golden mask.
Exactly. His tomb was practically untouched, and all those artifacts give us an incredible glimpse into ancient Egypt.
Speaking of, we can't forget mummies. They're like the icon of ancient Egypt.
Mummification was key to their beliefs. Preserving the body was crucial for the soul's journey.
So it wasn't just about the physical form, but ensuring their spiritual survival.
Precisely. The mummified body was like a vessel for the soul in the afterlife.
Like their ticket to eternity. Wow. Okay, but back to construction for a sec. We talked about some theories, but lifting those stones
Yeah.
without modern machinery still blows my mind.
It's one of the biggest mysteries, no doubt. We have ideas, but the exact methods still debated.
So it's a giant puzzle with missing pieces.
You got it. One theory is the earthen ramps leading up to the pyramid. They could drag the stones up on sleds and rollers.
Okay, but those ramps would have to be massive.
Yeah.
And then what? You just dismantle them once you're done.
That's part of the debate. How do you build and maintain those ramps, especially as the pyramid gets taller? Some think maybe they used internal ramps built within the pyramid itself.
Interesting. So many possibilities. Makes you wonder if they had tricks we haven't even thought of.
That's the thing about archaeology. There's always potential for something new, something that changes everything.
Totally. Okay, last thing on the alignment. We talked about the Marquette, tracking stars.
Yeah.
But how did they actually use that knowledge to align the pyramids so precisely? Like, did they have a secret star map tucked away somewhere?
Well, we haven't found a map exactly, but we know they were really focused on circumpolar stars.
Circumpolar.
The ones that never set, they just rotate around a fixed point in the sky.
Ah, got it. So they were like the anchors of the night sky.
Right. Always visible. And by observing them over time, they could figure out true north really accurately.
Like their own ancient compass, guiding their construction.
And all this with the naked eye. Meticulous observation, careful calculations. It really shows you their dedication, their understanding of the cosmos.
It's like they wove the universe into their buildings. But why go through all that? Why was this alignment so important?
Remember, their beliefs were deeply tied to the cosmos. They believed the pharaoh would become a god among the stars after death.
Not just earthly power, but joining the celestial realm.
Exactly. And by aligning the pyramids with specific stars, especially those linked to Osiris and the afterlife,
Yeah.
they created the symbolic pathway for the pharaoh's soul.
Like a cosmic launch pad aimed at the heavens.
In a way, it was about ensuring the pharaoh's smooth transition to the afterlife and their influence on the cosmic order.
Wow. Powerful stuff. We'll shift gears a bit. We've talked
Yeah.
a lot about pharaohs, tombs, the afterlife. But the people who built all this, what were their lives like? Beyond hauling stones and chiseling, I mean.
That's a great question, and one we should definitely explore more. We may never know the full story, but archaeology gives us some clues. We know they were organized, Teams, hierarchies, skilled foremen, scribes, documenting everything.
So not just chaos. There was a system, a level of management that rivals stuff today.
Oh, absolutely. And while the work was hard, there's evidence they weren't mistreated. Food, housing, medical care, they were part of something huge, something that went beyond just them.
It's been incredible to be a part of that.
Imagine that. The community, the shared purpose, building something that would last for millennia.
Really changes how we see it. It wasn't just pharaohs and their tombs, but a whole society working together.
And that collective achievement, maybe that's one of the biggest legacies of the pyramids. They're a testament not only to the pharaohs, but to all the people who built them.
Speaking of legacies,
Hmm.
these pyramids have stood for thousands of years. What do you think is their most enduring impact? What do they tell us about humanity?
They're more than just ancient structures, They're a testament to human ingenuity, our fascination with, well, life and death, the big questions.
It's true. They connect us to this civilization so far in the past.
And they challenge our assumptions about what ancient cultures could do. The scale, the precision, the symbolism makes you rethink history.
And they make you wonder, imagine all those theories, explorations.
And even after all this time studying them, we're still finding new things.
It's like they're whispering secrets, waiting for us to crack the code.
And who knows what's still out there? Hidden chambers, new insights into their world.
It's not just what we know, but what we don't know. It's like they're saying, keep searching, there's more.
Exactly. That's what's so great about it. The pyramids are proof that mystery. That's powerful. And they'll keep us fascinated for a long, long time.
I agree. Well, we've covered a lot in this deep dive. Pharaohs, pyramids, stars, mummies. But before we go, I have one last question for everyone listening. If the ancient Egyptians could do all this with no modern technology, what does that tell us about them? Were they even more advanced than we give them credit for?
Yeah, that's something to think about. I mean, just look at what they achieved. The ingenuity, the planning, their knowledge of astronomy, engineering.
They weren't just building pyramids, they were building a legacy, one that would last thousands of years and still inspire awe today. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the Egyptian pyramids. Keep those minds curious, keep asking those questions. Until next time, happy exploring.